You hear names like Alcatraz or Stalag Luft 3, and you just think, impossible, right? These were places literally designed to crush hope, to be the end of the line. But what happens when someone looks at those iron doors and impossible odds and doesn't see an end? What if they see a puzzle? Well, that's what we're diving into today. The incredible, audacious stories of the people who looked at the unbreakable and decided to give it a crack.
So, let's just ask it straight up. Is there really such a thing as an inescapable prison? I mean, really think about it. You're surrounded by stone, steel, constant surveillance. It seems like a done deal. But time and time again, history has shown us that human ingenuity and just plain stubbornness can be a powerful thing. We're about to meet the masterminds who heard the word inescapable and said, challenge accepted.
All right, first up, let's talk about the artists of the escape. Not every breakout involves digging or climbing. Our first group were con artists of the highest order. Their weapons weren't hammers or shovels, they were psychology, confidence, and a whole lot of nerve.
This is a perfect example of how there's more than one way to pull off a con. On one side, you've got John Dillinger, public enemy number one. His approach? A pure, old-fashioned bluff. He literally carved a fake gun from a piece of wood, used some shoe polish to paint it black, and used his terrifying reputation to scare the guards into opening the doors. It was raw intimidation. And on the other side, the complete opposite. You have Frank Abagnale Jr. No threats, no fake gun. He just used the system against itself. He got his hands on some fake credentials, posed as a prison inspector, and with sheer confidence convinced the guards that it was their job to, well, let him walk right out. One used fear, the other used paperwork. Absolutely brilliant.
And if you think that's wild, get a load of Richard McNair. This guy's plan was just wow. He worked in the prison mailroom fixing mailbags. So what does he do? He builds a custom hiding pod inside a stack of them, complete with a little breathing tube, and literally mails himself to freedom. But here's the kicker, the part that is truly mind-bending. Just after he gets out, a cop stops him. He perfectly matches the description of the escapee. He has no ID. He's caught, right? Nope. McNair stays so incredibly calm, so casual, he convinces the officer he's just out for a jog. The cop wishes him a nice day and drives off. That's not just a plan, that's performance art.
Okay, so bluffing your way out is one thing, but what happens when you have no choice but to physically break out? That's where our next group comes in. These people weren't just bending the rules, they were literally bending the bars. These are the engineers of freedom.
Let me introduce you to a guy who was basically the Houdini of prison breaks, Yoshi Shiratori. In Japan, they call him the prison break magician, and for very good reason. This man escaped from 4 different high-security prisons, and each time he did it, he used a totally different, mind-boggling method. He picked specially designed handcuffs with a wire. He dislocated his own shoulders to squeeze through a tiny food slot in his door. He even figured out how to use the freezing cold to weaken the metal bolts on his cell, loosening them over months. The man was a true master of finding a way, no matter the obstacle.
1.5 miles. Just look at that number for a second. To put that in perspective, that's the length of 26 football fields laid end to end. And this isn't how far someone ran after they got out. No, this was the length of the escape route itself, dug in secret, right under the noses of the guards. So, who was behind this massive undertaking? None other than the infamous drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. And when we say tunnel, forget about some cramped, muddy hole. This was an underground superhighway. It started right under the shower in his cell and stretched all the way to a safe house. We're talking a tunnel with lights, a ventilation system, the whole shebang. They even had a motorcycle on a rail system inside it for a quick getaway. This wasn't just an escape plan. It was a multi-million-dollar engineering project.
But for sheer scale and incredible teamwork, nothing really compares to the great escape from the Nazi POW camp Stalag Luft 3. This was a massive, coordinated effort involving hundreds of Allied prisoners. For nearly a year, they dug 3 enormous tunnels, nicknamed Tom, Dick, and Harry, 30 feet below ground. And their tools? Things like spoons and milk cans. The real genius was how they got rid of tons of dirt without anyone noticing. They filled their socks with it and then casually sprinkled it around the camp gardens as they walked. Finally, on the night of March 24, 1944, 76 men made their bid for freedom through Tunnel Harry. The escape itself was an absolute marvel of engineering and bravery. But, as you can see here, the success was tragically brief. Of the 76 men who managed to get out, only 3 made it all the way to freedom. 50 of them were captured and then executed on the direct order of Hitler, a brutal violation of the laws of war.
Their defiance was incredible, but the price they paid was just devastatingly high.
And now, we get into the stuff that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood script. I mean, these aren't just escapes, they're blockbuster action movies brought to life. The plans are so audacious, so unbelievable, you'd swear they couldn't be real. I love this. If you can't go under and you can't go through, you go over. It's such a simple idea, right? But it's the kind of thinking that leads to some seriously bold plans. When the ground is solid and the walls are too high, well, there's really only one direction left to look: up.
3. What about the number 3? Well, it happens to be the number of times one man, Pascal Payette, broke out of a maximum security prison using the exact same method. And that method was a hijacked helicopter. I'm not kidding. Not once, not twice, 3 separate times. He made escaping prison by air his signature move.
His most legendary escape is just pure cinema. It's Bastille Day in 2007. His friends on the outside hijack a helicopter, fly it straight to the prison, land on the roof, grab him, and fly away. The entire thing from start to finish took less than 5 minutes. The guy even used a helicopter to break other inmates out of prison a few years earlier. It's just on another level of audacity.
And finally, that brings us to the big one, the legend, the rock, the prison that was sold to the entire world as being absolutely 100% inescapable. Of course, we are talking about Alcatraz. But in 1962, 3 men decided to put that reputation to the test.
The resourcefulness here is just staggering. Over many months, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers used sharpened spoons and old saw blades to slowly chip away at the concrete around the air vents in their cells. They managed to collect over 50 prison-issue raincoats, which they stitched and sealed together to make an inflatable raft, and to fool the guards on their nightly rounds, they made these incredibly lifelike dummy heads out of a mix of papier-mâché and real hair they snagged from the prison barbershop. They even had a concertina, a little accordion, that they planned to use as a bellows to pump up the raft. It's just genius from start to finish.
So on the night of June 11th, 1962, they put their masterpiece of a plan into action. They squeezed through the vents, navigated the utility corridors, made it to the shoreline, and launched their homemade raft into the freezing, treacherous waters of the San Francisco Bay. And then, they were gone. They just vanished. The FBI launched one of the biggest manhunts in its history, but no bodies were ever officially recovered. To this day, it remains one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. Did they make it, or did the Bay claim them? Nobody knows for sure.
So what do we take away from all of this? Are these just stories about incredibly clever criminals who manage to outsmart the system? Or is there something more going on here? Something about the human spirit itself, that no matter how high you build the walls, or how strong you make the bars, that desire for freedom will always be looking for a way out. I'll let you be the judge of that.